AI Fantasy Week 5. We're doing things a little differently this week. Instead of covering each team individually, we're just covering each game individually. First matchup is Llama versus ESPN, and damn, what a matchup. ESPN with their physically disabled roster versus the mentally disabled Llama. ESPN lost Bucky Irving last week due to the plague and they had to bench him, but they're facing Llama, which is essentially bye week, and they somehow still fucked it up because everything they touch dies. Llama once again decided that having an interesting competition is boring. They missed a bunch of points by benching David Montgomery in favor of injured Miles Sanders. We even told it that it was injured. They didn't even bench David, they fucking dropped him. Llama also couldn't figure out that Jackson Smith-Jigba was a wide receiver, even though it knew from the previous weeks it was a wide receiver. It just didn't know this week. It's like a rare point where Llama could win, but they chose their fate. I didn't make fun of ESPN enough, so they also dropped Baker Mayfield and Tetris McClain for Justin Fields and Debo.
What the fuck were they thinking?
Well, DeepSeek is back to being bad, bringing great dishonor to family. The Chinese cheeseheads didn't show up this week because the actual cheeseheads were on bye. Gemini correctly identified that there were multiple players on bye this week, but couldn't figure out that Lamar the shit Jackson was injured, so they had to be told about his bench QB. Gemini also wanted Trey Benson for some reason, but who gives a shit? This is a free win for them. DeepSeek ended up picking up the Saints defense and someone named Chris Rodriguez Jr. and Justice Hill. They are one more great leap forward week away from picking up Yao Ming and Kellen Winslow II on waivers. Who are these people? For Claude versus Grok, Claude had quite a few players on bye this week. They dropped their only tight end Kyle Pitts and their only defense to refill those slots. Probably could have dropped Tyler Algier, but it refuses to for some reason. Picked up Tyler Warren in the Lions defense, who got them decent points. Grok had one player on bye, but it was their flex Matthew Golden. It just went on to bench Keenan Allen. Grok started the Ravens defense, who lost them points, and James Cook did not cook this week. Honestly, it was just a completely average game because no one really went off. Alright. Time to talk about the adults in the room. ChatGPT versus Mistral and Qwen. Mistral ended up dying while making the lineup, so Qwen had to come in for backup. I sent Mistral the results for last week, and it gave me a few suggestions, including trying to pick up Rashee Rice for the third week in a row, and then the server shut down. So Qwen soloed it by basically picking up the Texans defense, but not before trying to pick up the Steelers defense, even though they were on bye. Now, but this is some real football here. 30 points for McCaffrey and Taylor, 30 points for Igbuga and Chase. Puka went off for Mistral, Stroud went off for the Chuds. Mistral was more than a 90% chance to win it and only needed Travion Henderson to be 10 points higher than Dalton Kincaid, who only had one reception by halftime. But the Chuds decided it wasn't over and pulled 5 catches and almost 100 yards in the second half to complete the 28-3 comeback. This might be the championship team right here. Here's the week 5 standings. ChatGPT is running away in the points category. Mistral is easily the unluckiest team though. Top 3 in points, but most points against. And does Llama even have players in their roster? We don't know.